Good morning. It's Friday, April 16th, and it looks like our cozy relationship with Russia is ending. Now, this should not come as a big surprise to Russia. After all, they were responsible for hacking and interfering in our elections in 2016 and 2020. Specifically, we're talking about the solar winds attack. But in any event, Joe Biden and Putin did have a long telephone conversation last week. So based upon this decision to announce sanctions targeting Russian individuals and entities, it shouldn't come as a surprise to Putin that Biden is taking this action. I'm pretty sure Biden told him what's going to happen in the conversation. After all, these are two grown men who know each other a long, long time. And there's no reason for Biden to be nice to Putin, because it doesn't matter what Biden does with Putin, because Putin has managed to get himself declared president for life, and his term will last until 2036. So I don't think Putin is too scared of what Biden is doing. But let's look at what's really going to happen here. The punishments will include new financial sanctions and the expulsion of as many as a dozen Russian diplomats from the U.S. Now, we haven't sanctioned Russia in a long time because our former president felt that they hadn't done anything wrong, and he was an admirer of Putin. So I don't think that Putin is upset by this turn of events, because I'm sure he expected it was coming. Now, the State Department proposed a certain amount of sanctions and certain different sanctions, which I did not get a list of, but the White House wanted more sanctions than the State Department first proposed. Now, the U.S. is trying to walk a fine line with Russia, but the U.S. is also trying to defend the Ukraine in some way, shape, or form. So it's going to be a difficult task to walk this fine line, with Russia showing increased aggression in the Crimea area, and the U.S. attempting to balance that by supplying arms and other necessities to the Ukraine. And we don't want this whole thing to blow up. We don't need a full-scale engagement over there, especially since we're finally getting out of Afghanistan. And on top of this, all 30 members of the NATO alliance have expressed concern about the massive buildup of Russian forces near the Crimea and along the Ukraine's borders. So this is a dicey situation with these sanctions. But I think he has no choice. Biden has no choice except to take this position, because we can't allow Russia to run wild over our friends in Europe. I mean, we can't allow them to continue to cyber attack us. I'm not sure which is worse, the physical events that are taking place along the border of Crimea, or the events that have taken place in cyberspace. Now, the casualties that take place on the ground are visible and countable, but the casualties that occur in cyberspace are unknown. If the solar winds attack affects the lives of Americans and affects the thinking of Americans, that's much more dangerous than the physical attacks that occur on the ground. Because if you're out there creating dissidents that we have to deal with, it's a long battle. It's a hard battle. And I don't know if these sanctions will work anyhow, but we have to do something. We have to show something. So as of this moment, Biden has gathered up all of his intelligence organizations, and they are planning to strengthen our cybersecurity defenses, as well as looking further into the way that SolarWinds attacked us. This has become a major project. This is not being sloughed off as intelligence agencies were sloughed off in the past 4 years. We cannot have reckless and adversarial actions taking place in outer space, so to speak, and sit back and do nothing about them. So the sanctions and any other appropriate actions will be rolled out in the form of executive orders. And the U.S. has notified its allies so that all of us are prepared for potential Russian responses. Now, the Russian diplomats who are being asked to leave the United States will be given 30 days to get out of the country. Biden has also dropped all attempts at getting Russia into the G7, which is that economic forum that President Trump was trying to get him included in. But Biden has ruled that out. But Biden also, in the telephone call, according to reports, has asked Putin to come and sit and let's have a summit. So maybe we can work some things out. We'll see if anything like that happens. So this is a very delicate situation that Biden has himself in. And he's done a couple of unusual things, like he's keeping the Trump-appointed U.S. ambassador to Russia on the job right now. And he also invited Putin to a climate change conference later this month. So on one hand, he holds out an olive branch, and in the other hand, he has a hammer. And I think that's good. I think that will keep Putin off balance somewhat, not knowing whether any of his actions will result in some form of retribution or not. This is a delicate balancing act. Do we want to be friends with Russia? Is it in our best interest to be friends with Russia? Not bosom buddies, but on good speaking terms, so to speak. Or do we want to isolate them from our cadre, our group? I don't know, because Russia has different interests in the world than we do. And they have to fight to protect their interests, as we have to fight to defend our interests. So we're going to see how this game plays out. Take care, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye.